book lovers, it is GSwiz here, and I'm here today with the mid-year book freakout tag. This tag might be coming out later within the month, but at least it was not posted in June, because when someone posts the mid-year book freakout tag before we've reached the middle of the year, for some reason it just does something to my anxiety. I mean, yes, I brought this up in previous mid-year book freakout tag videos. I don't mean to be repetitive, but yeah, no, it's a thing again, and it's just making me a little bit stressed. I'm like, I want to watch it, but also you're too early. But I might be a little bit late, so there's that. It has been a very interesting first half of the year, and I'm looking forward to sharing all the details with you. I'm just gonna say I've had a bit more fun in July, and I did my best to make sure that I did not include any of the July details because I want to keep it strictly to the first 6 months of the year, so that is what I'm gonna do. We've got a lot of prompts to get through today, so I guess without further ado, let's get straight into this tag. Prompt number 1 is the best book that you've read so far in 2024, and I mean, this was kind of a slightly easy one. And I say that because I think it's the only book series so far that has completely consumed my life the way that it has. I mean, from January to June, and that is going to be the State of Grace series by Colette Rhodes. This series had me in an absolute chokehold. I consumed all 5 books within a weekend, I believe, and I could not shut up about it to Camilo, and I seriously cannot shut up about it now. I love this series so much. I would highly recommend it if you guys haven't checked it out. I would recommend the series to those who love The Bonds That Tie by J. Bree. That series gave me a massive hangover, and this series also gave me a massive hangover, but I could definitely see this series being a hangover cure for my Bonds That Tie hangover, at least, and then maybe I just need to find another hangover cure for this one. But yes, this series absolutely rocked my world this year. Unfortunately, I do feel as if the ending was really rushed, but overall, I think about the journey rather than the destination, and I think that's what matters. I definitely need to read more books by Colette Rhodes because, oh my goodness, this series was amazing, and I just know that the Luxuria series or the Shades of Sin series is probably gonna be my next read by Colette Rhodes. If not, I might check their backlist out. I'm just very much looking forward to reading more from them because they're a favorite author. Prompt number 2 is the best sequel that you've read so far in 2024, and that is hands down A Soul to Heal by Opal Rain. Pretty much every book in this series is gonna be the best sequel, in my personal opinion. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, technically this is the only ever book that I've read in the series apart from the first book, but I just know that I'm gonna love every single one of these books. I don't know, I have not heard a single negative thing about any of these books besides this one. Actually, I heard a few negative reviews about this book, and I can understand why, because this book does have a trope that I'm not a big fan of, but I actually like how the trope was done, and there were some miscommunication issues that did bug me at times, but I feel as if the journey that I went on with these characters and their healing kind of made up for all of it. I personally connected with Delora and Nameless. I love them so much. They are my babies, they are my everything. And then there's a character in here by the name of Theodore that I cannot help but absolutely adore. Oh my goodness, I love Theodore. And without giving you any context, the last scene that we see Theodore in this book, he just reminds me of a mermot. If you've read this book, you'd understand why. And it's just so funny. When I see mermot videos, I think about Theodore in that scene. This book made me cry so hard. I cry thinking about this book. I cry thinking about the series because this series to me is just so beautiful. This is one of those series where I'm just like, hold up, hear me out. This series is really good. I mean, these covers scare a lot of people off, but trust me, it's actually very well written. It's a very well written fantasy monster series. And honestly, you know what? This is a side tangent. I would love to see this series animated. I reckon that out of all the series that I've read this year so far, or within the last year, this series is one I would love to see an animation for the most. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I have the books, I'm content with that, and the audiobooks, chef's kiss, perfection. Prompt number 3 is a new release you haven't read yet, but want to. Be Spelled by Laura Falasa. Now, I was so ready to purchase the audiobook when it first dropped, but unfortunately, the audiobook did not drop on publication date. I was like, what? Oh my goodness, this is really annoying. I mean, it wasn't available to pre-order, but I do remember with Bewitched being able to purchase the audiobook on its release date, but like not being able to pre-order it. So I thought that Be Spelled would be the same situation. But then when I went to Laura's Instagram, she's like, guys, the audiobook is not finished, so it will be out on a later date. So it was out on a later date. and I didn't listen to it. I didn't get to this book, and I'm looking forward to getting to this book, but considering that the prequel was actually meant to come out, I think, before Be Spelled, it's actually recommended to read the prequel before Be Spelled, and Laura is coming out with The Curse That Binds. It initially was meant to be a novella, but it's now a full-length novel. I'm considering reading The Curse That Binds first before reading Be Spelled. I really want to read Be Spelled, don't get me wrong, I really do, but I kind of want to read the series in the order that Laura initially intended for the readers to read the series, if that makes sense. So even though I am planning to read Be Spelled this year, I personally reckon it would be for the best if I read The Curse That Binds before reading Be Spelled. But yeah, overall I'm just really excited to continue on with the series because I just need more Memnon and Celine. Prompt number 4, the most anticipated release for the second half of 2024. For me, this one is tough because on my notes app list I put Born of Blood and Ash, but I just mentioned The Curse That Binds. I still need to check when that releases. I know that portions of The Curse That Binds are getting released over time for newsletter subscribers of Laura Falasa. So the full book might come out in the second half of this year or it might not. We will see. But if it is coming out in 2024, it is personally my most anticipated release because anything Laura Falasa is a most anticipated release. Born of Blood and Ash is the final book in the Flesh and Fire series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I've only read the first 2 books and I loved the first 2 books. I love Sarah and Nyktos and I just want more of them, so I'm looking forward to this book. And then I will additionally mention that I'm excited for the next Crowns of Nyaxia book as well. So it's a very exciting lineup for the second half of the year. Prompt number 5 is the biggest disappointment. Now, I haven't had too many disappointments this year. I've been playing it safe for the most part in terms of my reading life, but I would have to say that the Institute of the Shadow Fae series by C.N. Crawford is the biggest disappointment. And the reason why I'd say that it's the biggest disappointment is not necessarily because the series is terrible. The series was entertaining for the most part, kind of. I just personally felt like I was rushed into the series and then rushed throughout the series, and then the actual ending of the series was rushed as well. This whole series was just a rush, period. I feel like I was meant to care about these characters and I was meant to care about this romance, but I didn't care about the characters or the romance at all. And I'm not gonna lie, I did find the romantic dynamic to be absolutely frustrating, but that's just my personal opinion. That's just me. It just was not great. And I personally find this disappointing because I've read 2 other series by C.N. Crawford previously, and those 2 ended up on my top 23 of 2023 list. I was really hoping that the Institute of the Shadow Fae would end up on my top 24 of 2024, and it's not, unfortunately. It is a disappointment, and it's a very sad disappointment because it's not terrible. But let's just say that C.N. Crawford, as an author duo, they've improved since this series. Like the Demon Queen Trials and the Frost and Nectar series are good examples of how they've improved as writers. I'm sorry, this series just was not for me. Prompt number 6 is the biggest surprise of this year so far, and I'd have to give that to Cage of Dreams by Rebecca Schaeffer. I read the first book in the series, and the first book was a 3 stars. I initially was considering DNFing the series altogether because I thought to myself, why waste money on a sequel of a Fairy Loot special edition that I didn't really love, you know? But thankfully, I changed my mind. I decided to add this to my cart. I decided to purchase this book. It arrived, I read it, and I really enjoyed it. I think that Cage of Dreams is an excellent sequel and conclusion in this series. It actually adds more to the story. I feel like the first book did not need to be a standalone. There was just something about the first book that didn't hype me up. I was just steady the entire time. However, this book right here really hyped me up. I mean, I did like the plot twist at the end of the first book, but the first book was slow for the most part. Things picked up in this sequel, and I actually liked how things ended in this book series. Like, even though I could use another book within this world, like I could honestly use spin-offs within this world, I personally reckon this was an excellent way to conclude the series, and it really surprised me in the best possible way. I actually gave Cage of Dreams a 4.5 out of 5 stars, and that is such an improvement from a 3-star rating. Yeah, so I'm really happy that I have this beautiful Fairy Loot edition. It's stunning, and I think I'm gonna reread the series in the future. I might change my opinion about the first book now that I know where the series goes. Prompt number 7 is your new favorite author. author. And I've mentioned her before in this video, I will mention her again, Colette Rhodes. She's definitely my favorite author I've discovered this year so far. I mean, there are so many other books that I've read this year from favorite authors, but I did discover Opal Rain last year, I discovered Chloe Leese last year, I discovered Carissa Broadbent last year, but I read Colette Rhodes for the first time this year. She's my favorite author of the year so far. I love her work so far and I cannot wait to read more. Prompt number 8 is your newest fictional crush. I put Nameless. I can't help it, okay? Orpheus and Nameless, them two, I love. Like, if you're mad that I selected a Duskwalker as my newest fictional crush, just get mad at how much Riz they have. Like, honestly, these guys, they have Riz. If we're talking about a human, I would say Viggo Bergman, but technically, well, I don't know, Viggo Bergman is not a new fictional crush. I've had a crush on Viggo Bergman since last year, but if we're talking newest fictional crush within 2024 specifically, it would be Nameless. Prompt number 9 is your newest favorite character. And for this one, I have to bring this series back up again. And yeah, I kind of like Grace. Grace is my favorite, not because she has my name, but because I can relate to her so hard. So not only that, she is very much an inspiration for me. Like, every single time I want to curl up in a bowl and cry and just hide from the world, I just need to remember how Grace got out of her comfort zone in this series and how she started a revolution, essentially. She did not back down. She did not shy away. I mean, yes, she did have her human moments, and she went through so much in the series. Like, I felt so sorry for her in this first book because she was consistently brought down by her family, and I was not okay with that. But I'm just so happy that she found her family within this series, her new family, and that she became stronger and braver throughout the series. Like, her character arc is definitely one of the best, maybe the best character arc I've read about this year. Like, I personally love this one and the one that happened in A Soul to Heal, but I think seeing how she grew over the course of these 5 books, it was just very rewarding. I really appreciate her as a character. She's very memorable to me, and I'm definitely rereading the series because of her. Prompt number 10, a book that made you cry. I've got many. Let's do a montage. And prompt number 11, a book that made you happy. I did include this book in that montage, but it made me happy too. This book made me cry happy tears. Only and Forever by Chloe Leese. Now, I've technically only been in the Bergman Brothers fandom for under a year and a half, but I feel like I've done my life with these characters. I feel like I've known the Bergman family for my entire life. I feel like I've had a crush on Viggo Bergman for longer than under a year and a half, I swear. And you know what? I also feel like I've known Tallulah throughout the course of the series. Even though there are so many other love interests you meet within this series, I feel like I knew Tallulah on a personal level. This story was everything I wanted it to be and so much more, but also it was just everything I did not know I wanted, because initially I thought that my idea of a final Bergman Brothers book would be the best idea. I thought wrong, okay? Chloe is always right. I will give it to Chloe. This book made me sob, but it made me sob tears of joy. It also made me sob tears of sadness. There were moments where I genuinely felt sad for these characters, and it very much reminded me of my reading experience with Ever After Always, which is my other favorite book in the series. I have 2 favorite books in the series. I personally cannot decide between the 2 because Ever After Always very much reminds me of the married version of me, and Only and Forever reminds me of the single version of me. Viggo Bergman's journey and Tallulah's journey in this book, like their insecurities and what they have to go through, very much reminded me of the struggles that I went through and the things that I needed to confront in order to be in a relationship. And that's exactly what they had to do. And what kind of personally blows my mind is the fact that Viggo Bergman is no expert. Throughout the series, you see him consistently recommend romance novels, right? And he's constantly giving his siblings relationship advice because he reads romance novels, and like, he's just some sort of guru. He's an expert, right? But in his own love story, he is no expert. And I kind of liked that because I initially was scared that I was not gonna like Viggo Bergman based on the idea that he might just come out of this being a know-it-all. But turns out it didn't go that way, and I'm actually really happy it didn't go that way. Yeah, overall, I really love this book. It made me really happy. I am just so giddy talking about it, and I cannot wait to reread the series because I love this series and I just need everyone to read it, dang it. Prompt number 12 is your favorite book to movie adaptation you've seen so far this year. And I don't have to mention a movie, I have to mention an anime. I really loved this anime adaptation, even though the animation was not perfect. I mean, no, sorry. The animation was perfect, the character design was not perfect, but the adaptation made me so happy, really happy. And then my friends is Kaiju number 8. I absolutely adored this adaptation. I loved how the anime adaptation conveyed the dramatics. Now, I know I'm probably gonna get some hate comments mentioning this, but I did watch the dub. The dub came out at the same time as the sub. And I do have to say this, the English voice actors did an excellent job. Whoever played Kafka, A+, like 11 out of 10. You did an excellent job playing Kafka Hibino. I did also experience the subtitled version because the last 2 episodes did not come out in dub the day that they were published. So I did also experience the adaptation with the Japanese voice actors, and I also reckon that they did an excellent job. Overall, the first season of Kaiju number 8 was excellent. I initially thought the first season was going to end at episode 10. I'm not saying that it was going to be 10 episodes, but I thought that the entire arc was going to go up to the point where episode 10 left off. And I specifically remember while reading the manga thinking this is where the season is gonna end off. And turns out it didn't. Thankfully, we got a better conclusion for season 1. And I can't wait for season 2. I really cannot wait for season 2. I have had Abyss on repeat non-stop. When I go to the gym, it is my go-to workout song. I'm obsessed. I really love this adaptation. I love the score. I loved the voice actors, everything. Yes, once again, not gonna lie, the character design could have been better. It was much better in the manga. But the action sequences and the fights gave me just as many chills, even more chills actually, than my initial read of the series. And I cannot wait to continue on with my read of the series because I did stop at volume 4 due to me suspecting that that is where the first season of the anime adaptation would end, and I was correct. So I'm looking forward to continuing on with the rest of my read, and I can't wait for season 2. The second last prompt for this tag is the most beautiful book you bought / received this year. I am planning, I mean, I filmed the first video as I'm speaking right now, but if it's not up yet, I am planning to do a series of videos where I talk about my favorite special editions that I've received this year so far, and that's gonna be a few parts. I mean, I filmed my first part, I've already got my second part ready to go. I think that it might be split into maybe 3 or 4 parts, but I will mention one beautiful special edition today, and that, my friends, is this beautiful special edition of Fairy Tale. This is the Arcane Society exclusive edition of Fairy Tale by Veronica Lancet, and this hardback is just stunning. Okay, look at that beautiful illustration. I am absolutely in love. Right here, we've got some more foiling, and we've got the same illustration on the back. That is majestic. It is gorgeous, and I wish that I could show it off more on my channel, but I have not yet read Fairy Tale. I really do need to read it. I'm hearing that it's very much a dark romance that was inspired by Beauty and the Beast, and that just makes me really excited because I like Beauty and the Beast, but I hear that the romance is very dark. So yeah, overall, I'm slightly nervous about that, but I'm still very much excited for it. I initially was not planning to get this beautiful special edition, but I decided to get it because I was purchasing the Arcane Society Tate James set of the Kit Davenport series. And because this beautiful special edition of Fairy Tale was not sold out on the Arcane Society website at the time, I decided to add it to my order because, I mean, I was already spending a lot on that set, and I thought, you know what, I could purchase the two and combine the postage. That's exactly what I did, and I have no regrets because this is gorgeous, and I'm just really happy to have it in my possession. And the final prompt of this tag is, what books do you really need to get to by the end of the year? And as always, in G-Swizz fashion, I have a few that I need to mention. I'm going to mention 3 different series. Starting off with the Devil in the Deep Blue Sea series by Stacey Marie Brown. I think maybe this time last year I did mention that I needed to get to Savage Lands. Well, I read Savage Lands. I mean, I still need to read the 7th book in the Savage Lands series, which follows a side character in the main Savage Lands series, so I'm looking forward to getting to that eventually. But this right here is set within the same world, and the Devil in the Deep Blue Sea series is actually a completed duet. I'm very much looking forward to hopefully completing this series this year. I actually have both audiobooks in my Audible library, so I'm planning to binge listen to this series. I'm personally hoping that the audiobooks are just as good as the ones for Savage Lands because I really enjoyed those, and I hear great things about the series. I hear that it's really steamy. I mean, I would expect nothing less from Stacey Marie Brown. I mean, the tension and the steam in Savage Lands was wild, and I'm also kind of expecting expecting this to have a toxic romance because, I mean, Savage Lands did, am I right? But it's only gonna last for 2 books this time and not 6. I am also very much looking forward to receiving the Darkly/Bookish Box exclusive edition bind up of this series as well. Yeah, I can't wait to have that in my collection. I just need all of the Stacey Marie Brown books in my collection, please, and thank you. Yes, I need to read more books set within this world because I loved Savage Lands so much, and there are like 3 or 4 more series set within this world that I really need to consume so badly because honestly, I swear, Stacey Marie Brown puts crack into these books. Like, they're addictive. And I honestly reckon that the series is going to be just as addictive as the Savage Land series. I really hope so, but I'm hearing great things about it, so I don't doubt it. The second series that I have to mention that I really want to get to by the end of the year is the Prince of the Doomed City series by Sylvia Mercedes. I've personally heard great things about the series. I believe this series and Bride of the Shadow King are 2 of Sylvia Mercedes' more popular series, and I want to read more of Sylvia Mercedes' backlist, but I decided to purchase all of these books in hardback because all of them look so pretty. I mean, look at this first book. It is adorable, and I hear that the series is absolutely cute. I mean, there's a library, and there's this cute prince, and there's this romance that looks absolutely adorable too. I barely know anything about this series. I just decided to purchase this series because the hardbacks were absolutely adorable. I don't know, I just like reading new romanticises. I love discovering new romanticises, and for some reason, I don't know why, this romantasy is kind of giving me Malediction Trilogy vibes. I don't know. It could be like that. It could not be like that. It could be something different. But I'm just wanting to read a romantasy series that gives me those same vibes again. So I'm hoping that this series might just be it. But if not, I'm just hoping that this series is going to be a new favorite fantasy romance in general for me. And last but certainly not least, the final book series that I'd like to mention here as one of the book series that I'd like to get to by the end of the year is the Salacious Players Club. These books got picked up by a publisher, and I've been waiting for these books to come out slowly, and we finally reached the end of these books coming out in their traditionally published form. So now I have all of these books on my shelf ready to read, and it's about time that I got to them because I really loved Praise, and I also met Sarah Kate like this time last year. I mean, almost this time last year. She was absolutely lovely, and I was just absolutely raving about how much I adored Praise and that I just needed to read more of her books. Like, I really do want to read more of the series and more of her books because I do have a bunch of books by Sarah Kate on my shelves and I need to get to them all. But I specifically want to get to the Salacious Players Club because I loved Praise and I want to continue on with the series and following the side characters. I remember following the main character of this book as a side character in Praise, so I'm looking forward to see how things go in here. I'm hearing great things about the 3rd book. I'm really excited about the 3rd book, and of course I'm looking forward to the other books in this series as well. Yes, honestly cannot wait to read this series, to finally complete the series and to let you guys know how I go with it, and hopefully I can recommend all of these books to you guys. But yeah, I really enjoyed Praise. I feel like rereading Praise, but at the very same time, I feel like Praise has lived in my heart this whole time. I definitely remember it well, so I reckon I can just jump into this book. So I guess that's gonna be it for this video today, book lovers. If you happen to stay to the end of the video, leave me the green heart emoji. And if you happen to enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet already. Joined the amazing community of book lovers. And also, I have social media. I'm at itsgswizzelbooks on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm also Goodreads. That's www.goodreads.com/gswizzle. And finally, I'm at TikTok. I'm at gswizzle on TikTok if you want to follow me there for some bookish content. I love you, book lovers, and I will see you later. Peace.
Started out with half and I flipped it in a double. Started out with half and I flipped it in a double.